Good evening, it's Gene from maverickstar Ops. Guys, we're going to be looking at where is most likely the safe place to be in the coming years as we merge back into a glacial period. Now, it's easy to know where the last period ended, because underneath all those glaciers, as they was migrating further south towards the equatorial region, when they finally dissipated and melted, they left a lot of glacial till. This is the rubble underneath the glaciers that is dragged along land as the glacier melts and moves further south. So we know that around the London region of the United Kingdom was at least where we saw this till deposited, so we know that they advanced at least that far during the last glacial period. Just one thing to note here is that if you look at the chart, and I'll show it in the coming weeks, if you look at the chart showing the 400,000 year history of probably the last 6 glacial interglacial periods that we've been through, including this recent one, you'll see that this has happened many times before. But you'll also note one other thing, that at the beginning, around 400,000 years ago, it was something like 65,000 years the last glacial period lasted. Then it went to about 70, 75, 80, and then 100,000 was the last one. So they seem to be getting, for some reason, a lot longer. But we know, at least here in the United Kingdom, they did advance almost on the doorstep of London, which is around 50 degrees latitude. Now, I've been saying 40 degrees latitude is probably a safe bet, and I'm saying that as a precaution. I still think even in those regions during the glacial period, it is going to be really too hard for people to get crops out the ground. We've got to remember that when the Vikings landed on Greenland, it was only a matter of a couple of Celsius that made them change their minds and evacuate. Now, I'm going to just quickly go around the globe so you get an idea of where 40 degrees is for wherever you are situated, and you can do a little bit of research yourself on where it is about you are over the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, as to where that glacial till ended up during the last glacial melt, when we come out of the last glacial period. But you can see Canada is certainly well under the ice. So is most Central Europe under the ice, and this is what we've got to prep for. A lot of us have been prepping for just growing our own food, but it's going to be more than that. We're going to need to do a lot more than that in order to survive, and it really is going to be a survival paradigm that we're going to have to go through. Our governments around the world have not prepped for this. They weren't prepping for a glacial period to take place. They've been prepping for global warming. They've been prepping for the ice caps to melt, and them ice caps aren't going anywhere. They're not melting. What's happening is quite the opposite. We're going back into a glacial period, and you would expect your governments in any case to tell us that would be the case, because by sending people off in the wrong direction during such a time and an event taking place, that would ensure the continuity of the rich and the elite, wouldn't it, if most of us was to perish in a rapid accident. So you get an idea of where 40 degrees is on this globe, and you get an idea as to where you are situated. And right now, what we need to think about is, if we do merge back into a glacial period in the coming years, and it can be accelerated due to the magnetic poles reversing, because we know how much they malfunction the jet stream's behaviour right now, and have done that continuously, getting worse over the last 30 years. We know that it's not going to be likely that we can grow crops above 40 degrees latitude on this planet. And therefore, most of us need to be closer, perhaps at that point when that starts to happen, by the oceans, like your Inuits and your Eskimos. I can imagine what some people are thinking. This is the extreme, and it's going to require extreme survival techniques. You're going to need to know how to make coats, trousers, because the textiles companies aren't going to be... The world is going to change before our eyes. We think as human beings, because we've got all these smartphones and laptops and internets and electric cars now, that we're untouchable. Oh, this world is much, much older than us. And, there have been other species that have gone extinct. Maybe in the history of the Earth, we just don't know, because they could have been that old that they've never been found, but there might have been even other intelligent species on this Earth. But their technology, just like ours, wouldn't even last a decade out in the open, in the elements. I'm talking rain, sleet, snow. Would your mobile phone resemble a mobile phone right now if it was left outside for 4 years? It certainly wouldn't work. The microscopic circuitry on that PCB board inside your phone would instantly deteriorate with just a little bit of moisture. So we know what would happen after a 4-5 year period. And when we're asking the question, how old's the Earth, how long has it been habitable, we're talking hundreds of thousands, millions of years. There could have easily been intelligent species that were caught out, just like probably ours is about to. I think it is a crime against humanity what our governments are doing right now, because they have been so ignorant to the fact that something else could be causing these dramatic climate changes that we've got. I would not blame them if they taxed us for the correct reasons. If they said to us, people, we need to increase the taxes because we now are facing another glacial period, and these last hundreds of thousands of years, and that means most of the northern hemisphere will be in sub-zero temperatures. We need to establish brand new relationships with countries that are in the warmer climates, so that we can maintain some sort of order whilst we slowly merge and adapt into a glacial period. I could understand them taxing us for that. I bet you could as well, guys, but they're not doing that, are they? They're sending us running in the direction of the danger, and as a result of that, I kid you not, billions of people are going to perish. And I can imagine, I'm a rational person, I'm a logical thinker, I can imagine exactly what you think when you hear me say that. But it's not uncommon for this Earth to go into glacial periods. I've showed you over the last few weeks where we are, how far we are, from crossing that line, and that we are definitely on a collision course with that. And not only that, it has happened hundreds of times in the history of Earth, if not thousands. This is a natural process that regularly comes about every 100,000 years. Interglacial periods, which is what we have thrived in, a warmer period, only lasts between 10 and maximum 15 years. We're at the maximum now. It is inevitable we are going into next a glacial period. Why would our world governments tell us that it is the opposite if they didn't want to fool us and deliberately kill us? Why would they do that? It's to ensure that when this glacial period catches us all, or the majority of the people, with our pants down, something we didn't expect, it will wipe them out. When you look at the Georgia Guidestones, you can't help now, with this knowledge of what is coming, think, was this designed to happen when the next glacial period came in? They cherry pick the data. from the 1900s. This is where I mean, they always show it going back from the 1860s, but the rise in temperature didn't happen until the 1900s, and that's about the exact same time, you know, that when the magnetic pole unearthed its anchor and started to move across the northern hemisphere. It's the exact same time. And if we go 90 years into the future from the 1900s, so we're going 1990 now, and we have a look at how much distance the migrating pole had covered, we can see that it matches the rise in temperature more accurately than what they're saying about CO2. Now, we could argue that the rise in global temperature is not because of that, it's because of a magnetic pole reversal, but, you know, there is no coincidence that from 1990 to 2021 there has been a rapid acceleration, not just in a slight warming of the mean, or the GMST, the global surface mean temperature, or you know, the accelerated distance that the pole has travelled. They're exactly the same. I showed you a few weeks ago, if you remember. They're exactly the same. We could argue that the pole has probably risen the climate since the 1900s. Again, you know, if the government's scientists, advisors, was smart, they could have chose something much better and more convincing than CO2. But, you know, if they did this just to, you know, tax people more because it's like a stealth tax. I mean, just look how much they've changed industry. Carbon credits, carbon taxes, and all the laws forcing people now to have, you know, I mean, with the prices of fuel going up, you don't think that there's any coincidence about that? It's not been done by design. They want you out of your, you know, combustion engine car and into one of those super non-efficient, non-sustainable electric vehicles. Have you any idea how much a coal power plant has got to chunk coal in order for you to charge that car up? This is why I shake my head every time I see them, and they're becoming more and more popular on the roads now than ever. It's like you can't teach common sense to the majority of the people in this world. It's like most of them are going to perish, and you know what? It's horrible and it's harsh to say this, but you know what? They deserve it for being so ignorant. They laugh when you talk about these things, and you know, you guys say to me in the comment section, I talk about these to my family and friends. They don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. But I guarantee you now, when the snow drift is up 10 foot on their front door of their home, they'll wish they had listened, and they'll be looking for you, the person that tried to tell them you won't be there, because obviously you'll have took precautions if you're smart, and you and your loved ones will be in a better position to ride out this storm that's coming. But if we look at the Georgia Guidestones, they want to do not just a small haircut. They don't want to just take the dead ends off. They want to do a full chop, and they're going to cut the grass this time big on the world's population, and they're going to leave it at 500 million. That's 7.5 billion people dead. That's a manageable number. That will be a sustainable number, and somebody has worked this out way longer before we even got the sniff of something was going on. They have managed to work out what is a sustainable number of people for the inhabitable and croppable arable land that will serve 500 million people. And they knew it couldn't be 100 million, 100 or 1 billion people. They knew it couldn't be that. It had to be 500 million. That gives you an idea of really what we're up against. You are extremely, extremely lucky to have someone even talk about this on a mainstream media platform. You're getting, your heads up. And we don't have crystal balls. We're not prophets. We're not receiving messages from UFOs or aliens or anything like that. We've just studied the science, and we know a bit of the history of how climate has changed on this planet and when it is likely to change again. We're there. There's going to be a couple of people who are going to become honorary members for the website that we've got. These few people, and there's room for another 8 people, but these people have been relentless in their efforts in keeping us supported. And it was only the other day that JBM you know, chucked us a few bucks and really got us out of a lot of deep trouble here. You know, I explain to people that watch these videos, you know, what it is we're trying to do, and it just falls a lot of the time on deaf ears. And I know there are genuinely some cases of people that are struggling at the moment. I completely understand that. Come on, I am a human being, after all, let's just say that. Yeah, I understand. But I don't want people to lose this observatory. Especially as we're probably 15 months away from crossing that 40-degree mark. I'm sure you guys want to see what happens when we do. And I'm sure, you know, the information which we provide is of a great value and not just a service. So, you know, again, I mentioned the link down there. We always suffer anyhow when it comes to Christmas, because, you know, obviously people have got to find that extra few bucks for their families for Christmas. So, you know, it is a struggle, but it's going to be even worse. You know, it's going to be a compacting problem for us if we don't maintain a certain level of, you know, reasonable support, and we're not even doing that at the moment. So things need to really change. You know, we need more people on board and more people supporting what we do, and we can do that for other people, because, you know, there's 98% of the world's population completely unaware of what's going on, and just because they're not aware doesn't mean they're bad people. You know, they deserve at least a fighting chance. That's all we're trying to do, guys. There's a link down there if you want to help support what we do at the observatory. And, you know, the only other thing I can say to you is, you know, you have a, you know, amazing evening with your loved ones. Take care of them. As always, bye for now.